Hello, hello, everybody. I'm hoping. Am I chatting with myself? I'm just chatting with myself. Awesome. But yeah, for anybody who comes in, thanks for coming. Let's see, I gotta go to this one. Ta-da! Oh, now I'm getting messages on my phone immediately. What the heck? Well, today I want to chat about my weekend at LARP. I had so much fun. Uh, and it seemed like I did nothing and everything all at the same time. So we're gonna go through. I'm gonna try my best to remember day by day and how everything went. I had lots of fun, and I hope we can go in August, but it depends on Baron's schedule. I will try and use everybody's in-game name and kind of explain who they are to the best of my abilities. I was also gonna change my face. There we go. Be nice and chill. We'll draw. So I don't think it'll. Though I did realize I can draw with my mouse, I think. Oh no, I can't draw with my mouse. But I can click on things with my mouse. Uh, but we'll just use my hand, so it won't look quite right, but we'll figure it out. So I played as Lilliana Creekmore, a little human druid, who had come to the far-off land of Zenistrand uh, for vacation. She heard it was a beautiful place full of lots of exploring areas. It was a good place for exercise. It was utterly beautiful, full of excitement. She was excited. As you can tell, she is quite the happy little quite the happy little doodle. Uh, so she shows up where she meets her friend at the time, uh, Beatrice, Busybody. And let's see if I can do a quick little doodle of Beatrice. And then I think Beatrice had a tabard. That was kind of like that. And she had a big shield. And a big hammer. I should have drawn everybody out beforehand. And then I think her shield had a dragon on it. So she was also new in town. And I know Beatrice, the real person who plays them, from a long time ago. So we were friends out of game anyway. But in game, we came to town at the same time, and we were like, "Oh hell yeah, uh, let's hang out together, and this is gonna be great." Uh, so we stroll into town, and immediately upon entering the town, there's a little old farmer man, and he was like, "I'm having troubles. There's frickin' pigs in my field. They're rooting it up. I need help fixing that." So me and Beatrice, as well as the two other newbies who strolled into town, went and fought some pigs. So there's our little first encounter. Some pigs. Uh, and so yeah, so we we very quickly took down these pigs. There was one for each of us. Uh, Managed to get some little potions off of the pigs, little remedies, and then we decided to stroll into town. Beatrice was on the hunt for uh, her Lord Sithis, which I don't think I can draw him very quickly. Uh, let's see. Sithis is a dragon or a dragonkin. How do I draw a little dragon snoot? I don't know if I can draw a little dragon snoot. Hmm. My drawing abilities have already been put to the test. Hmm. There we go. He also had a big shield. I think he had some crazy armor on. His had like like bones and stuff on it. It was really cool. He had like a belt. had a big ass sword. So I will. So we had our Lord Sithis, leader of Dragon Camp. I don't know if he actually has a tail, but I'm imagining he has a tail. Oh, I'm not sleeping. I'm just tired. Hello, Forager. Hello, Red. I was trying to draw my best little dragon folk. He looks way cooler in person. No, I got the sleepy eyes because I didn't sleep at LARP. But I will get to that part. Uh, so yeah, me and Beatrice had to go find Lord Sithis because Beatrice was his squire. And they had been taking some time off to go on an adventure. Lord Sithis sent them off to go learn how to be a proper squire and to accomplish great deeds. And Beatrice had gone and taught dyslexic gnomes how to read. And we very quickly learnt, upon finding Lord Sithis, that that was unsatisfactory. As the follower of the Dragon of War, I do believe, uh, teaching dyslexic gnomes how to read was not what he intended Beatrice to do. So we basically made some introductions after that. We got assigned Golem Buddy. Let's see, Golem Buddy. Be the best way to draw him. He had like little crystals coming out of him. There we go. So we were assigned Golem Buddy to kind of watch after us, who was played by another one of our IRL friends. No, the pig was the first thing that I fought in LARP. So we got a little piggy as the start of our adventure. Uh, Great start to Liliana's vacation. She was just like, oh yeah, we hunted some pigs, we got introduced to Lord Sithis, we got assigned a golem buddy. Well, Beatrice was more or less assigned a golem buddy, but because I was hanging around Beatrice, I got protection as well. And that I did. This is my tale. I cosplayed as a human named Lilliana Creekmore. I did not vlog it, unfortunately. I don't know if I would have been able to. The magic boxes, known as phones and cameras in that, were not really allowed. So you had to kind of put them away for forever and never see them again. The only ones that could have them were the wind sprites, aka Plot Camp, and they were completely out of character, but they went around taking pictures. So as soon as those are available, I'll see if I can't steal a few to show. 'Cause yeah, I had great fun. It was, let's see, it was Friday night, all of Saturday, and then Sunday morning to afternoon. So, like 2 full days, but technically over the course of 3. Uh, but yeah, little Liliana went for vacation, decided that it was a great place, supposed to be beautiful, full adventure. No, full immersion. Uh, Here, let's see. Let's skip ahead just a little bit. So, there was a little area. Oh, wait, that's horrible. Okay. Trees. So, yeah, there was a little clearing kind of in some trees, and Lord Sithis had set up his tent and like a little fortress type tent all the way around. Oh, I'm so good at drawing quick camps. Uh, so basically, we had a little campsite that looked like that. I did. I slept in the big one. I slept in this one. With Lord Sithis, with Beatrice, with Golem Buddy. Oh, and then I'll have to make some more portraits here. And then we also had uh, I don't know what he actually was, but he had little horns. And I know he was becoming a shaman. So we had Capricorn. What did Capricorn wield? I can't remember. He was too busy memeing. I can't remember what he was wielding. So we had Capricorn, uh, and then, so yeah, we had Golem Buddy, Beatrice, Capricorn Sithis, and then it was Baron, but Baron was playing a necromancer, or half necromancer, I should say. And he was a little high elf. Got to get his little ears in there. So yeah, he was playing a little. And then he had chainmail. So we had Thade. Okay. So this was my main group that I slept in a tent with and hung out with for pretty much the whole game. There were other people to Dragon Camp, but on the outer skirts of here uh, were their tents. So we had a tent here, a tent there, and then there was like another little teepee-like tent over here. And then there was another one, and then a kind of a bigger tent, all kind of like that. And then, Tenchi, I am telling stories. You cannot come over here and harass me. Uh, so this was what we called Dragon Camp. So in this particular setting of LARP, you can follow 3 different kind of entities. You can follow gods, you can follow dragons, and you can follow or make pacts with demons, to my understanding. So basically, a lot of people whose interests kind of align, they make different camps. So I was part of Dragon Camp. So even though Lilliana doesn't follow a god or a dragon or anything like that, she's just kind of along for the ride. Dragon Camp, because out of game, we're all of her friends. And they are very welcoming of new people. Their only rule is that if you are in Dragon Camp, you do not accept god blessings. So I was like, yeah, sure. I won't follow a god. I'll hang out. It'll be great. I'll have these strong people here to protect me while I'm on vacation. It'll be so fun. So what ended up happening was after we killed the pigs and we got the little potions off of them, uh, we went and we found Sithis, and then Beatrice was super excited, got reprimanded for not doing Dragon of War type stuff on their pilgrimage. Instead, they taught dyslexic gnomes how to read, and that was unsatisfactory. So Sithis assigned Golem Buddy to show them basically the ropes and to keep them safe for the first little bit. And immediately, upon being introduced to everyone, which was a grand total of maybe 5 minutes after killing the pig, suddenly this big glowy guy comes waltzing into town, followed by a whole bunch of like henchmen and an angel. And the angel wasn't being very angelly and decided, or well, I guess it was under the glowy guy's control, and it was just murdering everyone. So within 5 minutes of town, we're all running for our lives, trying to fight back. Uh, Liliana quickly figured out that she could do absolutely nothing because every time she would try to incant her spells, the frickin' glowy man and his henchmen would reverse time, which basically didn't fully reverse time, but unless you could say your magical incants backwards, uh, they didn't work. So my incants, because I was a little druid, I went with the magical sphere of elemental magic, specifically stone. So then I could say I throw rocks at people. So like my incant was I invoke stone to, and then if I was doing damage or afflicting somebody with something, it was inflict, and then whatever my spell was. If I was giving somebody like a boon, or if I was boosting myself, it would be grant. So I would have to say all that backwards. So needless to say, I wasn't doing very much. So I decided to task myself with, if somebody went down, I would go and pick them up, and I would try and find a healer. Which, being brand new in town, I had no idea who any of the healers were. So that was a fun time. Uh, and yeah, there was one point in the battle, I think like not even 10 minutes into it, as I'm running for my life. Uh, there was a call for gravity. So the enemy increased gravity. So all of us got pinned to the floor. Unless you had 5 strength, you could not get up. So, being a little level 1 druid, I had no strength. I basically just have the 1. So it was not happening. So my little character is face first down on the floor. And then suddenly, the glowy man turns the floor to lava. And I do believe the call was actually, the floor is lava. And it was like, oh, fun. So then he was basically counting down or counting up, saying like I think it was like one fire or one body fire. I think that was it. It was one body fire and then one body fire, one body fire. Uh, so my little character had 9 health and no armor whatsoever. So I was basically face first in some lava, slowly burning. And then eventually, I think he counted all the way to 10. So I ended up hitting my bleed count, 1 HP before he finished. So yeah, I was bleeding out on the ground, slightly crispy, and magically, and so thankfully, healers actually came and picked everybody up. So I lived. And I was like, oh, heck yeah. So I went on, instead of having 9 HP, I now had 2 HP, and that would be my HP for the rest of the game because I could never heal, and whenever I did, I immediately died again. And so I just lived at 2 HP for the whole event. So here I am rocking 2 HP, picking people up, running for my life. And then there was a point where I was like, you know what? I think I'm just in the way. I'm gonna just run back to camp and hide. So I hid right behind this tent. I didn't hide in camp, I hid right behind camp. And so while I was hiding, the glowy guy actually marched all the way over to Dragon Camp. And he has an ability to sense life. So if he senses life, you're supposed to say here, unless you have something that like makes you undead or something, and then you don't have to. But basically, if you're alive, you have to say here, and you're supposed to act like you didn't hear him sense life. It's just that's what he does. It's what's happening. You just pretend that you didn't hear it, and your world's about to be fucked unless he gives you a heads up. So I was hiding behind the tent, and in the tent there was a table right on the other side of where I was hiding. And so he senses life. He knows kind of where I am. He knows the direction I am. And luckily for me, he then proceeded to say, "Oh, I think somebody is hiding under this table." And then he must have like bumped it or like put his hand on it and it shook, but I felt it through the tent wall. So then, of course, my character went, ah, fuck. Like, he knows that, like, I'm here. And she bookered so fast back into town. Because she was like, well, obviously, camp's not safe. Let's go. So she ran all the way back into town. Uh, Proceeded to try and stay out of the way, helped pick people up, uh, until everybody kind of beat and banished off all of these people. In that process, we discovered that there was a very large and very powerful magic circle in the fort outside of town. So if let's move Dragon Camp. So if we move Dragon Camp over here, uh, so if Dragon Camp was there, there was like down a hill and then around the bend. This was town. So that was town. Uh, Outside of town and up a hill. Let's move my. Oh. And then up a hill with some like trees and stuff, there was a big, big like fort. So there was a big fort on the outside of town, and then over here, because it's a little bit relevant, was like a henge. Okay, so that's roughly kind of how it goes. So basically, the fighting persisted all through town. It went all the way up to this fort. We discovered there was a giant magic circle in the fort. Uh, and yeah, they actually had like a big actual fort on the property. They actually had, so town comprised of a lot of little cabins that you could rent. And they also are used as what is it, SCP? It's where like people actually get like fully decked out with like armor and real weapons and fight. So like they do that too. So there was an actual fort, there was an actual like little town. It was really cool. I think it was real money. You could rent them for real money. So if you didn't want to sleep in a tent, you could rent a cabin if you wanted. But we had a big tent. Dragon Camp had lots of tents, and we're actually thinking about buying more to expand it. Uh, and then, yeah, so the big magic circle, it was fucking crazy. So apparently, this magic circle was outputting magic that, like, even long-term residents haven't seen before. So, like, it was doing all the spheres of magic that they know, but it also had like four or something that were unknown to people, which out of game people knew what some of them were, but in game people are like, I have no idea what the fuck this magic is. I really did. I spent money on a hat. Well, Jiki bought a hat for vacation and then was just like, ah, yes, we're gonna be out in the sun the whole time. Let's just reuse my summer hat. And then I bought an apron as well. With yeah, when they bring out the pictures, I'll post one that has my whole outfit on it. So hopefully there's a good one of me in there, which probably not. I'm horrible for pictures. But yeah, so basically this big fuck off magic circle appeared. We weren't allowed to touch it. And then after the fight, this glowy guy, Lilliana, learned that he came from a floating kind of rock and crystal in the sky. So this big floaty rock and crystal was dropping little stones, little crystals, here and there. So Liliana didn't get anything, but Thade managed to pick up one, and it was a little purple opal. Uh, and suddenly, after this big magic circle kind of fired off a laser, uh, the big rock crystal thing in the sky basically started crashing down. So we all had to go over to this little spot, which was called a henge, I think. I could be wrong on that, but I think it was called a henge. And basically the guildmaster of the town and some other really tough individuals made a big protection force field. So they basically gathered everybody that they could, covered us with this shield, shielded us from these giant rocks that were falling. That would have been definitely certain death for anybody who was underneath them. And they told us off. They were like, do not fucking touch that magic circle. We swear to God, you touch it before we get the powers that be called the Conclave, which are kind of, from my understanding, they're like the magic police. You have to have like your license to wield magic, and you have to basically like prove yourself for higher magics with them. So you have to talk to the magic police first. And they basically said, do not fucking touch it until we can get the magic police out here to look at it. So Liliana being like, you know what, I was here for vacation. I'm not here to mess with magic circles. I've had enough excitement for one night. I'm heading back to camp to take a nap. Uh, oh yeah, no. I basically figured it out because camp wasn't safe, and so I was forced back into the fight. And then I happened to be over there, and I think I was heading back when they were just like, "Everybody get to the henge," and it was like, "Okay, that sounds important. I better go." So went all the way back to camp. Beatrice and Golem Buddy came with me. We were gonna get ready for bed. Uh, I quite literally went into the tent, took off some of my layers of dress, turned around, went, you know what, I'm gonna grab a snack. I'm gonna go pee, and we're just gonna sit in the camp chairs for a bit, and then we're gonna go to bed. So I hop out of the tent. I go to the snack tent, which is this one. This is a snack tent. And uh, proceeded to get myself a little bag of chips, I do believe it was, and a Gatorade, and uh, it was pretty isolated. I think we were 45 minutes away from the nearest town. But we packed all of our own. We had like 3 different coolers of drinks and ice in them, and then we had lots of like instant noodles and oatmeal, and we brought coffee packets and everything. So everybody kind of contributed and brought foodstuffs. Uh, and then yeah, so I grabbed some chips and a Gatorade to be smart and to keep myself hydrated after running all over town and up and down hills like a maniac, which I haven't done in fucking years. This was in Canada. This particular guild was in Saskatchewan. So it's the Underworld LARP. Um, Actually, I can probably write that down somewhere. Come up here and go. Underworld LARP. Oh, and now I gotta remember how to spell their. This guild was Zenith Strand, I do believe, is how you say that. So that's where I was. So we were just over the Saskatchewan border from Alberta. It was very beautiful. Uh, oh, but yeah, so grabbed my snacks, grabbed a Gatorade, because we were being smart, and I walked out of the snack tent, and I just hear something go, shh, we're sneaking. Sneaky, sneaky, sneaking. And then this little red creature and a couple other ones popped into my view, and they told me to be quiet. We were sneaking. And so Liliana, being quite new to all this, went, what are we sneaking from? And then immediately got hit with a charm spell for an imp. So a little demon imp charmed me, and I was now their best friend. So me and my new best friend decided that we were gonna go harvest people's souls and have a grand old time. In the process of that, uh, Beatrice got charmed as well, and Golem Buddy, because we didn't have authorization to tell him what to do, basically watched us as we decided to go and dance and chat and hang out with these imps, which the imps tried to soul harvest the golem, realized the golem didn't have a soul. The imp that friended me and Beatrice and charmed us wouldn't let the other imps take our souls because we were best friends. And yeah, but it's better than sleeping on the ground. But we had a tent, so we were good. Which Dragon Camp was really, really fun. I highly recommend just getting tents and making big ass tent colonies. It's great. Uh, and then, oh, the imps. So we were gonna go harvest souls. We were safe because we were best friends with the imp. Ended up making it not even 2 feet out of camp when Thade comes back. He murders an imp, tells Golem Buddy, because he has authority to order around Golem Buddy, that it's time to put an end to this. And so they just start one-shotting and murdering these imps. And in the chaos, I got separated from my best friend imp. She started yelling for help, so I ran over to help her. I missed, but Beatrice told me later they asked a different one what they should do, and that imp, in the most scared voice, said, I don't know. I have never seen death on this scale before. Before being abruptly obliterated by probably Thade. I managed to find my best friend Imp just in time to watch Golem Buddy whack them, and they exploded into a firework and into 2 coins, in-game coins. Uh, So then the imp encounter was done. Liliana was confused as all get out. Uh, Split a coin with Beatrice because she felt it was only fair that our best friend imp who had exploded, we should each get a piece of them. Uh, Found her snack that she had discarded earlier in her charm state, sat down on a chair, and went, holy fuck, this vacation is nuts. Uh, that was when I also met, I don't know if I can draw them as well, but then we also met, I believe his name was Ray. And I'm going to put just a little healer cross on his helmet because he was Dragon Camp's resident healer. And then I also met, oh, what was his name? I can't remember his name. Oh, I'm such a horrible person. Uh, I met our other little guy, and I think he wore chainmail too. But him and Ray were really good friends, and he kind of acted as Dragon Camp's merchant. He was also one of our frontliners. But yeah, I met them, said hello, met a couple other people around Dragon Camp who weren't necessarily dragon followers, but they were basically like, nah, Dragon Camp's cool and tough enough to protect us. We'll hang out at Dragon Camp. So that was basically night one. Uh, I went to bed shortly after finishing my snack, though I didn't sleep at all. I was woken up by every little thing. I slept with a spell packet because I had heard tales of like night mods actually coming into tents and murdering you while you sleep. So, because I was right by the door, I was like, no, no, no. If anybody comes in here, they're getting a packet to the face, and I'm waking everyone up. Uh, but because I wasn't sleeping, and I woke up every time somebody else came to bed, uh, I basically eavesdropped on a whole bunch of conversations. Yeah, they can. They do give a warning, like I think they say like breaking in or kicking down door, and then they have like a count that they have to do. But yep, if it's still time for fights and mods, it's still time for fights and mods, and unless you are out of game with Plot Camp's approval, uh, you basically are always at risk. Really fun. But yeah, luckily night one they didn't come into tent. I think Plot came in once to make sure we had all of our like spells and stuff written down and that we knew that we had to like after combats we had to actually cross out what we used so that there was no accidental cheating going on. Uh yeah, exactly, murder. Actually, I have a really good tale of napping murder on day 2. But for now, we're still on night one, and I was basically eavesdropping on everyone that was in and around Dragon Camp. And the first thing I learned was there is a healer, and I do believe he was like kind of, he wasn't like the guild master of the town, but he was one of the higher ups in town, and I think he was supposed to do the conclave stuff, which is the magic police stuff. And I guess last game or last moon. Oh, hello, Xana. Thanks for lurking. Um, but yeah, last moon he was supposed to apprehend and kill these henge mages, which were basically mages that refused to get their paperwork and were not being compliant with magic rules, and they had been basically marked as kill on sight. And I guess he was trying to like talk to them and change their minds and like bring them around. And I guess the conclave was considering that treason because they said, no, you're supposed to go kill them. You weren't supposed to talk to them. You were just supposed to, like, basically do as you were told. Um, and then there was something else that happened too, but I can't quite remember what it was. But basically, Magic Police were unhappy with him, and they were debating between treason or incompetence. And I think by the end of the night they went with incompetence. And treason would have basically been an automatic death for him. They would have sentenced him to death for that. And whether or not that would have been his final, I do not know. But they decided to go with incompetence. They stripped him of his title and went on from there. And then there was another person who was part of Dragon Camp where a group of people came up and they were asking if people at Dragon Camp had seen him because an angel was looking for him. And everybody was like, no, I actually haven't seen him. And then I passed out for a little bit, but then the next time I woke up, another group of people were coming around and they're like, hey, that guy from earlier that the angel was looking for, yeah, he's currently running around as a ghost. And I never did hear the full story on that. Alls I know is that there was a guy, I believe his name was Andric, was running around as a ghost, and an angel was looking for him, and I have no idea why. But he was definitely a people when I saw him the next morning, so he must have gotten better. Uh, and then, yeah, I think that was pretty much it for night one. My insomnia continued and I barely slept. I woke up to every little thing. Sithis didn't come back in the tent until like 3 in the morning. So I was definitely awake then. I was awake to hear the coyotes howling. So that was cool to hear. And then I heard the rain start at like 5 in the morning. And then I think I gave up trying to sleep at about 7. I just got up and made myself a cup of coffee, talked with Ray and our other buddy for a bit, which was nice. So that ends kind of night one and brings us into day two. Now, day two was jam-packed full of so many things. I was also trying to, because I had spent the whole night before, like running around for my life and just didn't sleep. I was like, okay, I gotta take it easy today. I gotta, I gotta be chill. I can't be running for my life all day. I'm like, or else I'm gonna be like, I'm never gonna make it back home. Uh, so I think, how did day one start? I think did day one start with, I know there were demons in town. So people went and fought with demons. And then, me, Beatrice, and Thade went for a walk. We found another camp which had, I think, like Ajantis, which are basically the Romani group. They're more mystical and brightly colored individuals. But they were called Mud Camp, so we found Mud Camp. Chatted with them for a bit. Helped one of them with ants because I guess they were gathering firewood and one of the logs was covered in ants, so then they got covered in ants. So we assisted with that. And that was not a plot mod, that was actual little insect bugs crawling all over them, and we were trying to get them off of them. So we finished our walk. We didn't find anything cool, which was kind of saddening. Came back, had breakfast, and then what else was happening? I think something else happened in town, but I think I just stayed back and chilled at camp. So I'm not sure what went on. And then it was about lunchtime, I do believe, and just made myself a bowl of noodles where Sithis, Thade, and a gentleman from the town named Gerald, who is a healer and a ritual magic user, decided to go do a ritual in Dragon Camp's tent. So while we're all eating noodles, they're doing this ritual, and in the middle of the, well, I guess not in the middle, I guess it was the end of the ritual, uh, they came out and Plot was just like, okay, ritual hold, which basically means that they're just gonna give like a descriptor of what the fuck just happened. And they were just like, okay, while you're eating your lunch, you suddenly hear and see Gerald come flying out of the top of the tent, and he is launched forever up into the sky along with an item, and he disappears in a random direction. And then Plot Camp left, and all of us were sitting there like, uh, well, that wasn't on our bingo card for what was about to happen with this ritual. Thade comes out, and Sithis comes out too, and they were just like, somebody's got to go find Gerald, like right now. So I was just like, well, I'm gonna like take my noodles with me. I'm like, but I do have. I did. Oh, that's what I did that morning. I spent my life savings paying Sithis to pay for more money to buy me 2 little healing potions. That's what happened that morning. I bought some healing potions. So I was like, I'm going to be useful. So I was just like, well, technically you bought the healing potions. I should go use them for your own purpose. I'm going to take my noodles with me. Let's go find Gerald. So I went into town first because I was just like, well, maybe like somebody in town saw which way he went flying. So I wander into town, I start asking about, going, hey, has anybody seen a flying Gerald? He rocketed out of Dragon Camp and we don't know where he went. He could possibly be hurt, he could possibly be dead. We are unsure. uh, and so then I picked up 2 other adventurers to come with me. One of which was a healer, so in case he was actually dead, she would have something that could fix him. And we looked everywhere. And then I think our final stop was, so over here, there were kind of more little like houses and tents, a lot more forest areas, and then there was a big wooden gate. So, the very last place I went to go look was the big wooden gate. And we were quite literally standing there debating because we are just like, well, if he flew all the way the other way, so the other side of Dragon Camp, like out into the fields, we're not going to make it back to him in time before his death count is done. So if he is dead, or even if he's bleeding out and then goes into his death count, we're not going to get to him in time. And then as we were discussing that, and then discussing how the wind was actually blowing this way, so it would make more sense for him to come this way, uh, suddenly, two other adventurers come running up, and we see a falling Gerald come tumbling out of the sky, and he crash lands right in front of the gate where we were standing. So between one of the other adventurers that had seen him falling and the healer that came with me, we got Gerald up. Gerald was impressed with his iron-like grip because I guess what happened at the ritual was they had to put a Discord catalyst in, and the Discord catalyst resulted in the item that they were working on shot off in a random direction. And I guess Gerald got the choice that he could hang on or he could just let the item fly away. So if the item just flew away, we all would have had to go like searching for it in bushes. Uh, and Gerald was just like, it's probably easier to find a people than it is to find a random item. So he held on, and he managed to hold on all the way until crash landing, and then he still had it on him after we brought him up. So made our way back. I finished my noodles on the walk. Uh, it was great. Sat down for a few minutes. They discussed like the ritual and how it was like a Discord so that we kind of understood. And we were like, oh, okay. And then Thade and Sithis were running around with Gerald some more. They had some other rituals that they needed to do. And then we heard that there was a magic eater, a big, giant, fuck off creature that eats magic, was wandering through town. Uh, One of the guys in Dragon Camp, he was a Einhar, or basically like a northern fur-wearing Nordic man, with a spear, was just like, oh, I need its blood for something. And so we were like, okay. And I was just like, well, there's nothing I'm going to be able to do because like I am purely magic. So I'm just like I'm not going to be able to do diddly squat against this thing. Uh I was just like, but I do have my two little healing potions from before, and I would like to see what a magic eater is. I think it would be really cool. So I was just like, well, I'll bring you up if you go down. Let's go. So we went to town, and this magic eater was basically drawn towards anybody who had magic, and he was causing all sorts of mayhem. Uh, they the group that was trying to kill it in town were just like, oh, we need somebody to like lure him out of town. And I was like, oh, you know what? I could do that. I'm like, I could stay just out of its range and I could just run away if it gets close. I'm like, but I could be bait. I'm like, I'm a nice little squishy magic healer. I'd be the perfect bait. And that was actually working very well uh, for a couple of minutes. And then I was about like half turned, half walking backwards to kind of see like where he was, what he was doing. And the whole time, this big fuck off magic eater was just kind of lumbering around very slowly, like just slow meander walking everywhere. And I was keeping a pretty good distance away from it, enough that it would still chase me because I was within its range, but he wasn't like able to like hit me. And then suddenly I learned that fuck off magic eaters can sprint. They can go from being slow and meandering to full on, this is the fittest man, I think, at the entire LARP, running after you. Uh, so I went to go turn and run, and I think I got 2 steps, and I tripped over my own 2 feet, and I face planted straight into the dirt. Uh, so basically, the magic eater came over, and the plot guy who was running him kind of helped me up and asked if I was okay, and I said, "Yeah, I'm doing okay," because adrenaline is a crazy thing. And then he was just like, "Okay, I'm gonna swing now," and I was like, "Okay," and he proceeded to hit me for so much damage. And like one of his hits was enough to take me out because, like I said before, I've been rocking 2 HP since the beginning, and I think he swung for like 5 massive. So yeah, he hit me twice, and I was just like, oh, okay, I'm just gonna lay back on this ground, okay? So I just went and laid back down. Healers had to come get me up. And then we proceeded to, I want to say it was like a good 30, 45 minutes. We chased this stupid thing like all around town and like up to the fort and all the way back. Uh, we chased him everywhere. He chased us everywhere. Somebody had the great idea of, well, what would happen if we took the magic eater to the big fuck off magic circle that nobody's allowed to touch? And it didn't work because the magic eater was too big, it could not fit into the fort. So then it slowly came back to town. Uh, People were starting to like give up. And then suddenly, there was a whole group of trolls. And I guess the town has good relationships with a group of trolls that live nearby. And the trolls had come to town because they wanted to re strengthen the bonds between town and trolls by having a few marriages take place. And so the trolls were like, hey, our buddies are in danger. Let's go fuck this thing up. So then between the trolls and everybody in town, uh, basically we finally took down this magic eater creature. And then in the chaos that ensued of trolls finding suitable wives and husbands by basically kidnapping the strongest fighters from that fight and basically picking them up and carrying them away. Uh, I managed to get I think it was called a ley crystal, like a ley line crystal, which has something to do with the magic and like the magic circles and like how magic runs through the land. So I did get a little bit of loot from that fight. I ran off before. I'm like, I don't think I'm a candidate for troll marriage, but just in case they seem to think so, I'm a get out of here. So I made my way back to camp. I gave my ley line crystal to Thade because I was like, I don't really have a use for it. And I was just like, and I'm technically new to Dragon Camp, so here, have a crystal as some payment, for keeping me safe and letting me hang out. So did that, and then I slowly, well, not very, very quickly, my adrenaline from the fight wore off, and I realized that I done fucked up, and that face planting was not very good for me physically. So I figured I would hang out in the big tent and I would just lay down for a bit. And I was going to be like, if somebody comes in and murders me, well, somebody comes in and murders me. I need a nap and I need to stretch out. I took some ibuprofen and I basically laid down. A lot of people in Dragon Camp took off. They went to town, they went exploring. And then Capricorn stayed behind and he fell asleep outside, in the kitchen area on one of the camping chairs. So as I'm laying there and Capricorn is snoozing away, I suddenly hear a very terrifying noise come walking by the tents, and it was like, "Ah, ah, ah," and it was like, oh, well, I'm like, I'm just gonna sit in here and be very quiet and very still and pray that it can't sense life. Uh, so I guess it then saw Capricorn snoozing in the chair, and it wandered up to him very loudly, but Capricorn was having probably the best sleep of his life, and it proceeded to stab him once. Capricorn woke up and he went very quickly in his mind, oh, uh, I should be okay. I have some like magic and elemental armor and stuff like that. Like I'll be good for like another hit and then I can fight back. And then the creature proceeded to hit him again for big enough and bypassy enough damage that Capricorn was immediately dead. So Capricorn died. The creature, which we then learnt was a Balrog, started to munch on his leg. So I'm just in the tent and I hear consuming body 1, consuming body 2, and I'm just praying that it doesn't see me. And if I just stay very, very still, that I will also not be eaten. Uh, and I'm like, ah, fuck. Sorry, Capricorn, I don't know what to do. When Thade comes bursting through the tent doors because he needed to get his like weapons and such. He comes bursting in, grabs his weapons, and runs back out, luring the Belrog away. So then I come out, and poor Capricorn, his half-eaten body, which we like to imagine is just a whole bunch of bite marks on his leg, uh, is just dead in the chair. I don't have anything that'll tell me how dead, if he's still in the bleed count, if he's in his death count. I got nothing. So I was like, okay, well, I'm sorry, Capricorn, you're probably dead. I got nothing to help you. I used both of my Healy potions in the fight against the Magic Eater. I can't even shove anything in his face. You're toast. So I run over to see if I could help Thade, as Thade is soloing this Belrog, and then does the craziest shit that I have ever seen, where he basically leaps into the Balrog's attack, gets struck for like this massive amount of damage, but then hits him with two, I think they were called wasting death spells, and the Balrog managed to tank one, and uh the Balrog tanked one and then took the other one, but was still up. Uh, but like it was so funny because like they both kind of like paused what they were doing to like do their math and stuff like that. So it was like this epic like Thade jumps in and then suddenly they're both like, okay, wait, we got to resolve these numbers. Kate, we're both still up. Cool. Before Thade could chant any of his other necromancy spells again, Belgrog hits him again, Thade goes down. At that moment, some other people from Dragon Camp come back, and one of them goes, frick, like, I have a healing spell if we can get to him before his bleed count is done. Uh, and I was just like, oh, I'm like, I can read magic, I can do spells. I was just like, if you give me the little scroll, like, I can go heal him, if you guys can fight the thing. I'm like, because I can't do diddly squat. Uh, and they were like, yeah, sure. So they gave me the little healing scroll. Uh, Thade, or Baron, very graciously helped me through reading how to do a healing spell because I'm new and I could barely even do my elemental spells properly. Uh, and managed to get him up. He gets up, immediately goes back into the fight. I watch as a whole group of people surround and take down this Belrog. And then we head back to camp. And oh, I gotta find it. So I head back to camp, and when I get back to camp, I see Capricorn's body dead on a chair. But then I see his ghost standing up and doing all sorts of crazy things around. And there was actually a meme that Capricorn made. And I'm gonna see if I can find that really quick. I think I saved it. I did. Okay. So basically, there we go. This was the meme that Capricorn's little spirit was doing. You come around, you see Capricorn's body, Capricorn's spirit's just sitting there posing around him. And it's like, God damn it, Capricorn. What the hell? So then we had to find a healer, but everybody was out of like life spells, and Capricorn was very much in his death count and not his bleed count anymore. Uh, we finally found a healer that had, what was it? I can't remember what it was called, but basically it kept the body and like the spirit kind of tethered to it for 5 days. So basically for all of game, if need be. Uh, and so we did that. So basically we're just like, okay, well, until we can find somebody that has a life or can bring him back, Capricorn's just gonna have to be a ghost hanging around this dead body that we're just gonna keep in camp. So we had a grand old time doing that. And then, actually, I can probably keep that up, and then we'll just make it smaller and over here. There we go. Perfect. Organized everything. Uh, so yeah, it was so funny. We just had a dead Capricorn for the longest time, and just his little spirit floating around, answering questions with like thumbs up and like, little hand waves for maybe, kinda. Um, we then proceeded to have some amount of downtime. We did find a healer to finally bring Capricorn back, so that was cool. Thade did some more rituals, and he made some zombie hands, which he proceeded to put on another fellow person in Dragon Camp that I cannot remember their name. And yeah, we were having a grand old time. It then came time to do the magic reset. So at 6 p.m., you had to take 10 minutes to relearn your spells for the day. So basically, you had to memorize your spells for the day. And I did mine right away. Thade, due to a Discord catalyst for his zombie arm ritual, instead of 10 minutes, he had to take an hour. So he was hooped. Uh, and he basically was super tired and took a nap for a bit. During his nap, the rest of us had the best instant noodles ever. Ray, our little resident healer, brought these Korean spicy noodles, and then he made uh, wontons and dumplings, and then he also made onsen eggs and brought them with him. And so he made all of us in Dragon Camp these Korean noodles with onsen eggs and wontons and dumplings, and they were so good. Like, it was so good. I was just like, yes, this is what the body needs is noodles and eggs and wontons. So we basically were doing that, finished that up. Everybody else was just about to start on relearning their magic for the day when a very frantic person from town came running up and was just like, hey, Dragon Camp, in 25 minutes, we have somebody that's gonna be able to open the portal to hell so we can go to hell, wreak some havoc, and basically find a book that's gonna close the hell portal, which is gonna make it harder for demons to come through and attack the town. Because I guess, like, during a lot of my downtime, there was a lot of demon fights happening in town, and demons were just being, well, freaking demons and causing mayhem. So we were just like, sure, 25 minutes, plenty of time. Not for Thade, because he fucking has to memorize his spells for an hour, but the rest of us, we got this. So Sithis takes out his little gnomish timer, which was like a little stopwatch, does it for 10 minutes so that he can memorize his spells. During that 10 minutes, Capricorn does some tarot card readings for Sithis and basically pulled a whole bunch of cards that were like, hey, the number 5 is going to be significant, and if you let your ego get in the way, bad shit's going to happen. Uh, so we were like, huh, interesting. Duly noted. Uh, Town came back and proceeded to harass us. We still had 2 minutes on the 10-minute timer, which was started like immediately after they had left, saying we had 25 minutes. And they basically came back and were like, hey, no, we gotta go now. And Sithis was unimpressed. He was just like, no, we still have 2 minutes to memorize our spells. it has not even been 25 minutes, and that's what he's like, it hasn't even been 10 minutes, and you guys told us 25. So I guess an ongoing thing that I'm new to is that town has a bad habit of calling on Dragon Camp last minute for things and expecting them to be like immediately ready to go when like they still have to like put on their armor or like get their spells memorized. Uh so they You know what I just realized? I have had beautiful music playing for me this entire time and not for you guys. Oh, I'm so bad at this streaming thing. Well, now you have pretty music. So yeah, so basically, town's been really bad about frickin' calling on them last minute and then being upset when they're not immediately ready and available. So, Sithis, the angry red draconian who follows the war god, was right upset and yelled at a few people. We finished getting him ready. We made town wait the 2 minutes. Well, I guess it would have been like 7 minutes for them to finish their spells and get their armor on. And then all of Dragon Camp except for Thade, because he had to stay behind and do his spells and eat some hot dogs because he slept through spicy ramen. Decided to go to hell. And we had to truck up a frickin' mountain, it felt like. A few skirmishes on the way. To get there, we finally found the hell portal. I managed to help for one very large step because every time, so you had to be a magic user to move this hell portal, so we could get to the correct layer of hell. And because I'm rocking 2 health, every time you took a step while carrying this hell portal, you lost 1 health. So I managed to do 1 step before I had to let go, or else I would have dropped unconscious and somebody would have had to pick me up before the big fight. So I had to let go, but the rest of the mages in town managed to bring it right over. We got to a pretty low level of hell, and immediately everybody was warped into it. And how they described it was we were in like a big welcoming, with quotation marks, chamber. There was a big demon seated behind a table. There was a whole bunch of other demons kind of just hanging about. And then there was a big book on a pedestal surrounded by flames and a very heavy-duty protection kind of spell. And then I think it was like on the floor around it were several slots. And basically, from what we could all gather, we had to figure out something had to fit into those slots to get the book. The big demon offered us a deal if we all bowed to him and like basically pledged our loyalty and did a whatchamacallit, like signed a treaty with him of sorts. He would let us all go, and then I heard halfway through the following fight, he then said he would even give us the book that we wanted if we just signed these papers and bowed to him. But I don't think very many people heard that. because when I asked about it later, everyone was like, no, he wouldn't have given us the book. And I was like, oh, I'm pretty sure he said partway through. I was like, but it erupted into chaos. So we basically started to like fight him and everything. There was one point where they called basically a hold so that they could explain some stuff, and I was already like in my incant, and just as I was letting go of my spell packet to throw at said demon lord, and they called the hold, and I went to go kind of like catch it, which just knocked it a bit higher. So I ended up hitting the demon lord in the face for, I think it was 20 magic stone. And I felt kind of bad for hitting the plot member in the face, so I hope they forgive me. But apparently a lot of people in the fight thought it was really funny that somebody threw a magic packet at the demon lord's face. So win. We then proceeded to, basically it just erupted into this huge fight. Demons were everywhere, people were everywhere, everybody was going down, was getting brought back up. It was absolute chaos. I went down a couple of times, but after the first time I went down, so like everybody went at that point, when they went down, they kind of like laid down to signify that like, yeah, I'm dead, I'm bleeding out, please come save me. But when I had done that, there was like nobody kind of around the area that I was laying down in, and there was another person who was dead like right beside me, who was also laying down. Within like 3 seconds, suddenly people were backing up, and I ended up getting stepped on right on the top of my head. And I think I scooted my head out of the way fast enough. They just kind of snagged my hair, but I still got dizzy for a little bit when I like stood up. So I'm like, oh, I wonder if I did actually get kicked in the head. So after that, death was no longer lying on the ground. It was, if you're dying, you knelt in the grass. And you kept your head well above people's feet. So, yeah, we were fighting all the demons, and then in character, I saw that demons were dropping halos that were the exact same size as the slots around the book. So, proceeded to spread the word of, hey, the halos need to go in the slots. If you get a halo, get over to a slot and put it in. And then at that point, I had run out of spells. I was still rocking 2 health. At this point, I had acquired a simple weapon of a club, and I was doing a grand total of 1 normal damage. So basically just 1 physical damage. I did get boosted partway through. I got a magic put on me, so I was now doing 1 magic damage per swing. Basically it wasn't very helpful at all. Went down a couple more times. Figured I wasn't really helping anymore. We just needed 1 or 2 more halos. I was just like, okay, I'm gonna focus on getting people and bringing them back to the healers. So I think I ended up bringing a couple of people over to healers, and then I grabbed 1 person, and they were in their death count, so healing wasn't bringing them up. And they were a special class, I think called like a Risen, and they needed, so normally it takes 1 life spell to bring somebody up, but for the Risen, they need 2 life spells to bring them up, so they're expensive when they go down. And this person was arisen. So I had picked them up, but they had already entered their death count. And then basically I was told by a higher up from the town to basically hold on to their body. We were going to open the gate soon, hopefully. And as soon as the gate opened, I was to go through with them, and I was supposed to find a healer. And sure enough, like, I think not even 2 minutes later, we got all the halos into the slot. We managed to grab the book. The portal immediately opened back up to town, and I think if I wasn't the first one through, I was second or third. And the body that I was carrying was also second or third. Like, first one through that portal. What ended up happening was when the person with the book reached the portal and they went through, the portal immediately shut after the book went through. So about, I want to say maybe half of us that went, and I think there were 60 people at game. I think 50 or 45 of, I want to say 45 of us went through this portal to go to hell. And yeah, I think only like half of us, I think like maybe 20 or 25 people made it out through this portal. So when I got through the portal, I managed to find somebody that could heal the Risen. They spent a whole bunch to bring them up, so they basically told the Risen, like, hey, you owe me at least a gold for bringing you back. And they were like, cool, will do as soon as I get it. And then, yeah, that's when we realized that not everybody made it through the portal. So I had made it through. Sithis, when he came back, he was right ticked off. He was upsetty spaghetti, and he immediately marched his way back to camp. Capricorn came by a bit later. He was also like very late coming through the portal. But Golem and Beatrice were missing. And what happened was, I guess Beatrice went down. Golem Buddy had Beatrice's body and was making their way to the portal when the portal shut. And I guess after the portal had shut, the GM, or the DM, the Dungeon Master of the whole game, basically gave them an option to run. And then one of the mods kind of didn't want, because it was so hot and we were on the top of a hill and there was like gopher holes everywhere, they didn't really want people to be like chasing and running. So instead of just like letting everyone go, I guess they started like whipping spell packets at people to like bring them down immediately, and they were doing like fuck off damage. And they ended up hitting Golem Buddy. So Golem Buddy, completely destroyed. Gone forever. Well, maybe. But at that point, gone forever. Beatrice ended up dying in hell. Sithis was pissed off about it. Capricorn was pretty upset because, like, even though Golem Buddy, like, didn't have a soul, he was still our buddy. He had weird hopes and dreams, but he still had hopes and dreams. Somewhat. He had ideas, at least. So yeah, we had a very downer moment at Dragon Camp, mourning our fallen comrades. Beatrice managed to come back through the resurrection circle, and they ended up flipping well enough that they remembered their death. So they took it as a positive of, hey, at least I got to see Golem Buddy's like final moments, and I know what happened. I'm not just like waking up and all my shit's gone and my buddy is dead. So they took it pretty well. They were very optimistic. I enjoyed their enthusiasm and their optimism. And then yeah, Sithis just basically spent the night brooding, mostly. Mostly because he was also the medical marshal, and I guess somebody had come down with either heat stroke or heat exhaustion from all the running around and fighting and stuff and not taking care of themselves, so he had to go deal with that. So he basically was just like, yeah, Sithis is brooding in the tent and does not want to be disturbed by anybody. And then so he went out of game for a bit to go tend to people. And then, yeah, the rest of us decided that we needed to lighten the mood and we should have some s'mores. So we got a fire pit and we got some wood and we made a fire. We had some marshmallows and s'mores, and then slowly, because we had a fire, because when you have a fire, you have to have somebody be the fire marshal, and so they can't leave. They have to have like a jug of water with them, and they're in charge of the fire. So they have to make sure like it's not getting too big, it's not like if it does like spill out of the campfire, you have to be able to put it out. They're basically in charge of it, and they stay up, and if everybody's done, they have to make sure it's fully put out before they can leave and go to bed. So I volunteered to be that fire marshal. And then yeah, we had basically s'mores and snacks. And then somebody brought, because you couldn't have drugs or alcohol at game, but there were in-game alcohols that brewers and alchemists have made. And so one group brought some over because we had a fire, so they're like, woo, time to party. And then slowly we gathered so many people. And then we ended up doing a toast to Golem Buddy, and at that point Sithis had come back. Gerald had come around and poured all of us drinks. Some of us got way more drunk than others in game. And so it was really funny role-playing like varying levels of drunkenness around the campfire. Somebody had brought a alcoholic drink called fermented dragon's milk that we had learned earlier in the day. Dragons and draconians do not lactate, so it is not actually dragon's milk, and a lot of, well, what is it then, started arising, and we still don't fully know what it was, but it definitely was not dragon's milk. But somebody had brought that, and because we were all mostly drunk, and Sithis had left again, we all decided to like take turns trying it. So these in-game drinks basically were actually like somebody mixed stuff up for them. And the one group that brought their own alcohol, it was like a punch and like a juice. Somebody else had a, what was it? It was like one of those like lemonades, the Santiello ones. But the in-game tag for it was like Smash Fruit Drink Light. So they had that. And then, yeah, the other people had, like, their own juice. But then this fermented dragon's milk was, from what we could figure out, it was mostly coconut milk, some curry powder, some nutmeg, some cinnamon, and like something else. It tasted like a very, like, oh, somebody messed up their curry and they added way too much coconut milk to it. But like the texture and the consistency of said stuff was not good. It was too thick, but it wasn't bad. But basically, we all like handed it around and were taking like 1 point of stamina damage drinking this. And then we had a fellow from Mud Camp come by, and he was like a rat folk. And I believe his name was Ratbag. And Ratbag had just basically chugged a whole bunch of somebody else's alcohol. And then we all basically bullied him into trying the dragon's milk. And then he chugged a whole bunch of that. But he was just like, when he figured it out, he was just like, oh, he's like, you know what's the best thing about this? And we were all like, what? And he like flopped over onto the ground because he reached his limit, so he got knocked unconscious for drinking too much. So he was basically knocked out for an hour. So we just pulled him up closer to the fire so he would stay warm, and we were all just basically joking and having a good time, and some people were singing songs, and it was just really, really fun. And then, yeah, and then I think we just all hung out for a bit, and then, and then the trolls came back. There was a couple of trolls, and at this point, the person who was playing Golem Buddy, one of our real life friends, came back as a character named Kane. So Kane shows up to town, and he's hanging out. He knows Sithis from the days of old, and he's just happy to be here, gonna have a great time. And then the trolls came back, and the trolls were having an issue because something took their children and they needed assistance. So, because Thade wasn't one for like drinking and parties, he decided to go and help these trolls. And Kane went to go help the trolls, and I think a lot of people that were at the fire went to go help. It was just a couple people stayed behind because they were either tired or they had hurt themselves during the fight, and so they didn't really want to move. So everybody left, and we were like, cool, we're gonna stay here, we're gonna eat some more marshmallows and shit and just talk. So we just sat and chatted, and then eventually everybody kind of came back, or at least most of Dragon Camp came back. And at that time I was already like, okay, I've put the last log that I'm going to on the fire. Once it's done, I'm gonna clean everything up and we're gonna go to bed. Learned that the trolls, children were basically like in this like giant cave mouth, which they'd identified and then figured out how to beat. And then the trolls wanted an extra marriage, so Kane got married right at our campfire. And yeah, basically got married immediately. Like, a couple hours into being in town, immediately married to a troll. He's living his best life. I then learned from another character who had gotten married earlier that day that, like, nothing really, like, comes out of being married to a troll. It's just kind of like they heard that it was a good way to strengthen bonds between groups and bands of people, so that's what they do. their marriage ceremony is literally like whacking each other with sticks to show how strong you are. And then, yeah, I think everybody just slowly dissipated, and I think there was a couple more. I want to say there were some demons, because there was a particular demon called the Skinless, and we then had to start asking everybody who wandered up to, like, talk, because I guess this demon could take your face and your skin, but it couldn't talk. So if you saw somebody and they wouldn't answer you, it was probably a demon, and you're supposed to, like, run and get help or fight it. So I never came across it. Everybody chatted with me when they walked up, so don't know whatever happened to that. And then what else? What else did we do? I think it was just sat and chatted for a bit, and then I put out the fire. I cleaned up the camp a bit, because there were like a whole bunch of bottles everywhere that people had left randomly. So I cleaned up the bottles. I figured it might rain because a whole bunch of clouds came rolling in. So I put all the chairs under the tents. And then, yeah, it was after everybody had like crawled into bed and I was the last one kind of like poodling around Dragon Camp. I was looking for my bag because I couldn't remember if I left it in the big tent or if I had left it on a chair and somebody moved it. But I was looking for my bag. I was like, before I disturb anybody to check the big tent, I'm like, I'll just check around. And then I heard rustling in like the woods. So like these woods, I could just hear rustling. And so I had called out and I was like, hey, like, who's there? And then nobody answered. And I was like, okay. So I was like, who's in the trees? Like, who's walking? Like, I can hear you. Like, show yourselves or, like, talk or whatever. And still nobody answered. And I was just like, well, this rustling is too big to be a coyote. It's not big enough to be a bear. I was just like, I'm not sure what else could be out here. I'm just like, but I'm not sure anymore if this is an in-game threat or an out-of-game threat. And I can't find my bag, which has my, like, one spell left in it that wouldn't do me any good anyway. And I was like, and it has my, my club that I borrowed, so I'm like, I have nothing to defend myself with. I'm at 2 HP, and I'm all alone. So I was just like, okay, I'm gonna just leave. I'm gonna go to the bathroom, and then hopefully this threat has passed, or it's either murdered everybody in their sleep, and I'm gonna come back to an absolute massacre. So I went to the bathroom. When I came back, it wasn't there anymore. Whatever it was. Crawled into bed, and then I actually, like, slept that night. It was kind of nice. Woke up the next morning, realized that there was a big pile of deer shit right over by where I heard the rustling. So I almost came face to face that night with a deer. Don't know if that would have been very threatening, but I think it would have been slightly intimidating at the very least. And then, yeah, the second day started off pretty good. Or I guess the third day we're at now. Third day started off pretty good. There was a kobold. So I guess they're like, not everybody really likes them. They basically come and they demand shinies and food. And if you fight them, like, they explode. So this kobold came into our camp and was demanding shinies and food. So I gave them cheese, and they were pretty excited about that. Sithis gave them some stuff, some other people gave them some stuff. This kobold then, like, opened up its cape, and it looked like it was wearing, like, tons and tons of, like, sticks of dynamite. And we were like, oh, it's a super explodey kobold. And then, yeah, we basically, like, fed it some more, and then gave it some more shinies, and then it eventually wandered off, and it dropped one of its big things of, like, dynamite. Turns out it was just metal bars. So we kept the metal bars, and we were like, oh, heck yeah. Free blacksmithing to, like, stuff. And then, yeah, we all had breakfast, and then after breakfast, these, like, plants popped out of the ground, and they just said exchange. So if you had items, you could give them an item, and then they would give you a random item in return. And then somebody figured out that if you give them just random shit, you'll also get, like, random shit back. So I was like, oh, perfect. So I grabbed some cheese left over from the kobold, and I gave it some cheese, and I ended up making a whole silver coin off of it. So I was stoked. I was like, oh, hell yeah. I'm now back up to exactly, or almost exactly what I came in with, because I walked into town with a gold and a silver, and 9 health, and now I was at 2 health, and I had a gold and a silver again. So I was like, oh, heck yeah. I was like, I got all this stuff. And then, yeah, the plants left, and then town was attacked again by hellhounds. And we were just like, oh, okay, like, town's got it, we're good, we're too tired and sore, like, we're gonna hold off. And then hellhounds popped up in our camp, so I had to run for my life. Other people had to kill hellhounds. And then I think, like, a couple other things happened in town, but we completely missed them. We were just hanging out, chatting. The guildmaster came by and gave Ray, who is now second in command of the town, she gave him the book that we got from Hell, because I guess this book holds every sphere of magic. So when you need to relearn your spells for the day, you can learn all your spells off of that book. So it's supposed to be a town resource, but because the guildmaster may or may not be there next moon or the next game, they were just like, hey, Ray, take this. Let people use it and just basically keep it safe. If it's not kept safe, like, I will basically end you, and you don't want that. So keep it safe, let people use it, and yeah, I will see you next time I see you. And so we were like, huh, neat. And so I finally got, like, an up-close look at this prop, and it is so cool. Somebody built this, like, foam book that has, like, a whole bunch of runes on it, and then they actually have it so that it lights up. There's a little switch on the back that you can light up, and it glows all different colors. It's really cool. I hope somebody got a picture actually of it. That'd be great to show you guys later. But yeah, basically the ending date was we were just hung around and chatted, and then we heard a big, like, hip hip hurrah from town, and then somebody came back and they're like, yeah, game's over. And we were like, oh, we missed it. So yeah, then we just had to basically pack up and clean up and stuff like that. So it was super fun. About partway through, like, cleaning up the tents and stuff like that, I realized that, like, I pushed myself a bit too hard. And I couldn't really bend or anything. So I had to, like, be the most useless little person ever and just, like, lay down and not do much. Which Baron said was okay. He was cleaning up for me as well, so I got most of my stuff. I cleaned up my sleeping area and all my stuff, and I helped clean up a lot of the kitchen area before we had to go. But yeah. So now I know for next time, I gotta be a little bit less let's go. Let's go fight in hell. Definitely don't lay on the ground. We kneel on the ground when we're dead. Cinematically, much better to lay down. In big fights, though, people will step on your head. We gotta make sure that if we are fighting more magic eaters, that they sprint randomly. And so we need to have our feet facing the correct way at all times so that we can run and not faceplant in the ground. And then, yeah, I think just remembering to take a bit more breaks, I think. And then I don't know, I think that was pretty much it. Just gotta remember to kneel, gotta remember not to faceplant, gotta remember to sleep. For sure sleep. The first night was absolutely crazy for not sleeping. And then, yeah, running up and down hills, because, like, these hills were steep. And going from I can barely get out of bed some days to I'm gonna run for my life up and down this hill, and I'm gonna march up a mountain basically to go to hell was probably not my smartest moments. But it was so fun, and I want to do it again. If Baron can get time off again or switch around his schedule for August, I think we're going back in August. So I might have more stories in August. And then, yeah, I think that'll be fun. Just to do a little recap of what we've done. Maybe if I'm bored, I'll make proper little chibis of all of us so that it's easier to keep track of. But, oh, that was the thing. During the last couple of fights, people were coming back, like after the Hellhounds, people were coming back to Dragon Camp and were just like, hey, Sithis, you probably would like to know, but the demons that are currently attacking town are wearing bits of the golem. So he went to town and he was fighting to get back bits of the golem. So we're wondering if, like, we might not be able to bring the golem back, like Golem Buddy back, but we might be able to get, like, enough pieces of him that Sithis and Dragon Camp is no longer gonna owe, like, 400 gold to the person that they rented him from. So we'll have to keep an eye on that and those developments and see how that goes next time. But I think that was pretty much it. I have been chatting for 2 hours, which I think is real good. What else did I want to chat about? Oh yeah, I wanted to do I posted it in the Discord, but I want to do maybe like community day streams one of these days. I want to see kind of what day would work the best, but I could just play like a big online multiplayer game. And if people want to join me, they can. And we can sit and we can chat and we can play games together. And I figure I'll just make it like a whole day thing, and then we can go from there. I also, where is it? I believe it's on this one. Ta-da! I redid my spinny wheel. I still can't, for the life of me, I cannot get it to pop up with the result, like, at all. It'll just end, so you have to like kind of tilt your head to see it. But it does spin. I just gotta get my thing here. Where is it? There it is. So, it spins! Nice. So yeah, I have everything that I'm currently interested in doing and playing. So I figure if I ever don't have a for sure thing that I want to do, then I can spin the wheel. And we can figure that out the morning of. Just to get me more like, even though I don't know what I want to do for the day, but I feel like I could stream, then I can stream and then we'll figure it out as we go along. Yeah. So I hope you all thought that my stories were interesting. I had lots of fun at LARP, and I want to do more of it. And I want to share the stories, because I think that would be fun. And yeah, community days, that'll be fun. So if anybody has any suggestions or something that they want to do, like, hey, it'd be really cool if we did this. My ears are cut off. Hold up. How did I manage that? There we go. I just have to sit lower in the couch. I gotta get more cozy. But yeah, if anybody has any suggestions or wants, hit me up. I'm pretty good at responding most of the time. And yeah, I think I'm gonna try and stream tomorrow. Also, I think I had my head turned a little bit too far. Now my face is all twitchy because it's not tracking properly. I was staring at you guys too hard. But yeah. What else? It struck me there was more things I wanted to say, but now I can't remember. It's my little head injury I got. Now my brain's even more fluffy. It's fluffy and scrambled. Yeah, I think that's it. If I remember, I'll talk to you guys about it tomorrow. Until then, I hope you all have a great day and that you guys have lots of fun. And if there's ever a LARP near you, I would suggest checking it out. Have a good time, everybody. Bye bye.